Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar retired, and he has been looking at this Agnipath scheme very critically, and he is going to suggest some things that will perhaps be a win-win for everybody, the contestants, the army and the government, who each of them are looking at it from different angles. So let us welcome Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar and see what he has to say. We're going to have a PowerPoint presentation that we will walk you through, and General Ravi Shankar will give his inputs on that. General Ravi Shankar, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram, and thanks a lot for inviting me on this show once again. Like you said, the Agnipath is hot, literally hot, burning hot. Uh, and there are a lot of different perceptions all around. And I think we need to have clarity as to where we are going. And what we'll try and do is see how it can be tweaked, the current scheme, so that, like you rightly said, we should end up with a win-win situation for all.
Yes, indeed, sir. And with your permission, we can start the PowerPoint whenever you say,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, right. Thanks a lot. What we're going to do is we'll go through a modified Agnipath scheme. But before this, let me give a small preamble. I've been, working on this Agnipath model for the past about 2 months, ever since figures have been coming out in public domain. First, initially, they said that it will be a 3-year model. Then they said it will be a 5-year model. Then it will be a combination of 3 to 5 years service with 50-50 going out and 50% in the regular stream. Now they've said that it will be a 4-year model with 75% going out and 25%. So all this has happened in the past 2 months, right? And the exit policy gave focused, I think, more on the financials than on the other issues which probably affect the mind of a youth who seeks stability, who looks at long-term issues. It's his future. For us, for us it might be a problem. For him, it's his future. And that is why the things have come out. In this whole thing, I think some balance has been lost. So till about yesterday, I was picking holes in this whole scheme, and I was looking at it from operational point of view. And then when I saw the sentiment on the street, you might say that it is politically motivated, it has been instigated, all that. But fundamentally, people are not happy. The rest are all add-ons. So some aspirations of the youth have not been fully met by this scheme. So there is a bit of an imbalance, right? And that's what we'll do. We'll see what the imbalance is. We'll see how to modify it. Could I have the presentation? Right. What we'll do is we'll go through the modified Agnipath scheme and see what we can do and what we can achieve. Right. Next. Okay. Look at the triangle on the left. You see, between the national objectives of the scheme, the aspirations of the youth, and the organizational effectiveness of the armed forces, you need a balance. For that matter, this is a transformative scheme, as everyone has said. I have no doubt about it. The point is, if you don't have this balance, this transformation will be for the worst. Right? If you look at the right, okay, if you expand everyone into each other's territory, now they're almost in a mutually exclusive kind of a zone. You need to homogenize them and have adequate intersections so that they're in balance. Right? It's about a little give and take. And it's a lot of thing as to how you change your perception. Because I think in this entire story, the perception battle is being lost by every participant, whether it is the government, the armed forces, or the youth. Right? Everyone's perception of the other is going a little awry. Okay, next. Okay, what are the objectives, in my view? What are the objectives of this, Agnipath scheme? I'm going back to the basics. Unless we get this basics clear, right, we'll not move ahead. First is, of course, we need to reduce the pension bill. The pension bill is slowly going up and up and up. There'll be a day when our entire defense budget might only be the pension bill, right? So we need to reduce the pension bill. It is indisputable. Next, you need to reduce your age. You need to have your armed forces with a younger profile, right? Again, indisputable. You need a young army. You need a forward-looking army. You need an army which can handle the technology which is coming into the war battlefield. Okay, so again, there's no doubt about it. But in doing so, when you do whatever you want, you have to retain operational effectiveness. That balance cannot be lost. And let me put it up front. In this, that balance is lost at the unit level. I'll come to that a little later. Okay, a very important factor of the Indian Armed Forces is that we have some fantastic service traditions and ethos. That's the fourth square, the first, middle row. You need to retain these service traditions and ethos. If you lose them, you're going to lose fighting efficiency. Ours is an army which has a rich history right from the days of Mahabharata. Okay. I mean, where everyone thinks is a British army, hand-me-down, colonial, imperialistic designs and thinking. No. Our men come from villages. They are rooted to the ground. They get those traditions. They get that ethos. So you can't lose that. This is under danger in this scheme the way it is being rolled out. Change has to be gradual. You can't say it from tomorrow that the army will change, or the armed forces will change, and you'll have only people with 4 years entry. That's too drastic. Any drastic change is an unstable change. You need to go into it slowly. Change has to be acceptable and voluntary. Obviously, in this case, it is not acceptable. Why it is not acceptable is a different story. Poor communications, XYZ. That's not the point. But your scheme has to be naturally acceptable. It has to be easy to implement. Right? It has to blend with your existing system. The new system has to come in and the old system has to go out naturally. That is not there. If from tomorrow it is only Agniveer who is coming in, and then you have two classes of the youngsters on one story and the old people on another story, you have a problem. You have a class divide straight away. You cannot add to the burden of the commanding officer and the units. The units fight the war. The army doesn't fight the war. The navy doesn't fight the war. The ships fight the war. That ship, and the infantry battalion and the artillery regiment and that armored regiment has to be fit to fight the war. If you turn over people too fast and you get too many inexperienced people, and with this business of assessing a guy right from the day he comes in, you're only performance oriented, then you're not building teams. You will agree with me, when two people are in competition with each other, they cannot be a team. I mean, it's a fundamental of management. Team building comes in when competitiveness reduces. The current model induces competitiveness from the word go and a high degree of competitiveness because 75% have to go out. That's not good. Right? And you need to have better choices for exit. You have to generate choices. At this point of time, I'm afraid, most of the choices which are being generated more over and above what was announced 3 days back are an afterthought, not a pre-thought, not planned. Okay, still, I'll go with it and let's see how we can make it better. And then you need to understand that for the past 2 years, due to the COVID, you have stopped all recruitment. That is 130,000 vacancies. Maybe over 52 lakhs to a crore have prepared and appeared for it in part, and they're waiting. Plus another 75,000 vacancies would have come in this year. Against the 2,25,000 vacancies potentially, as in the old system, you just released 46,000 and you told everyone you compete for it. Is it fair? Naturally, the youth will get upset. They are your boys. So we have to do something for them. And of course, once the youth gets upset, his father, mother, his society, his street politics, everyone will come into the fray, and that's what we are seeing. We should stop that. I think first we should do something to ensure all this mayhem stops. And that appeal is not going out. I am worried about that. You're trying to justify your scheme. Stop this. Right. Can I have the next slide? Okay. What is this tenets of this Agnipath which we should go into? First and foremost, it's a national scheme. Ownership is of the government. MOD is only nodal. The Ministry of Defense is only nodal. The army is of the nation. So I'm sure everyone understands this, but what comes through in the TV is that the defense minister calls the chiefs. Some consultation takes place, and an announcement is made. What about the other ministries? What about everyone else? Who is that central person going to say, look, I'm going to handle Agnipath? And this is what the whole package is. Right. You need a whole of government approach. Defense, home, other ministries, they cannot be compartmentalized and segregated. Take the holistic package. If you're going to push 75% out, those 75% who are going out should have a reasonable degree of assurance that there are avenues available for them to relocate. At least give them a fair chance. People are missing that. Okay. This whole thing should contribute to better operational efficiency as a unit in the front line. Like I said, if there's too much competitiveness, no experience, there's too much churn, there's no team spirit, you reduce the training, so that means people are not proficient enough, you expect on-the-job training in the battlefield, then you're putting a lot of things at risk. And a lot of people have given me feedback on what I've analyzed. That look, your numbers are right. In any case, the vice chief himself has confirmed those numbers. I worked on those numbers, and as per those numbers, the operational efficiency of a unit will go down. Is that acceptable? It is not. So Agnipath has to ensure that cannot go. And then you have to enhance and induct new technologies, enable that. ITIs will not help you. ITIs don't give you trained manpower to absorb technology. The technology in defense is far different from what is being taught in ITIs. Look, take it from me. I teach defense technologies in IIT Madras to PhD and MS and MTech students. And it's one of the most subscribed subjects in IIT Madras, electives. As a graded 4-point graded course. And I know what's the difference between those people who are reading pure technology and coming to my class and learning about defense technology. There's a big ocean. We can't dilute standards of our soldiers. We need to meet people's aspiration. There's a societal responsibility all of us have. Are we doing enough for the man who's putting his life on the line? Even for 4 years, if he has to serve, he's put his life on the line for those 4 years. At 21 or 22, when he comes out, if you tell him, look, you are a better man and you can go and fight the world, is it fair? Is he going to be a retired Fauji on 21 when he goes to see his bride? What are you doing? I've just retired from the army. That can't happen. These are the kind of jokes which are coming out on the internet. Okay. I mean, that's not. Then we need to take everyone along transparently. Whatever we do now, we are in a situation, we can't go back. There's no choice of this transformation being, because if you go back and say you withdraw this Agnipath scheme, that's the end of transformation, that's the end of reform. You have to go forward. How to go forward is the issue. These are the tenets you have to follow. At least this is what I suggest, and this is what I feel. Okay. Next. Right. Let's just analyze a little of this conceptually before I come to the actual thing. If you see the left, Agnipath, the left arrow, is based on a push model. You're pushing people up, okay, and pushing people out. Whereas you need to have, in this modified Agnipath, which I'm now suggesting, you need to have a push, you need to have a peel, and you need to have a pull. All three. Unless you have this, all three things put together, your transformation is incomplete. Otherwise, if you just try to push the system, you will find resistance. You will find resistance to change. Like I said, it has to be attractive and acceptable. It will be attractive and acceptable if you condition people for all these three: push, pull, and peel. Okay. Next. This is the model. I mean, this is the crux of this entire story. First, there should be no change in training. Continue with your 1-year training. Okay. Then, instead of saying that you serve for 4 years only and get out, okay, keep that boy for 5 years. And in the first 5 years, you can have anything between 15 to 25% exiting. And you can increase this incrementally over a 10-year period. Start with just 15%, which is acceptable. So the rest 85% continue. Then the next exit is at 7 years. Maybe another 15 to 25. I mean, and at 9 years, you have 15 to 25, another exit. That means over a 4 to 9 years, 5-year period, you exit the same 75%. Go on it incrementally. Today you try for the next 5 to 6 years, just do 15%, 20%, 25%, get to that and go. Maybe you, in the 5-year, this thing, you leave it at 15%, but at 9 years, you exit 30%. So that ultimately by the 9th year of service, 75% get exited. Then the churn in the unit is reduced, you retain experience, you condition that man to go. You convince him, look, if you're good, only 15% will be taken out. You should be in the first 85%. His sense of competition reduces. His sense of fear reduces. And he starts accepting his situation. Right? And then today you don't have any method of assessing a boy till he becomes an NCO. How can you start assessing him from day one when you don't have a system? So you have to evolve a system. And that system is there. In fact, I have not seen anyone talking of it, but my way of looking at it, it has to be a metric-based, centralized assessment, part of upgradation. Let me explain this upgradation business. Every soldier, with time, he upgrades his skill. He becomes from grade 1, say grade 4, he starts as a grade 4, then he becomes grade 3, then grade 2, and grade 1. So in his proficiency, these are his 4 grades. So use this upgradation as a metric, and the percentage he gets there, make his merit, and keep compounding his merit at 5 years, 9 years, 7 years, and 9 years. So that he knows that if he performs and he does well, it's a cumulative factor. It's sustained. It is not a cutthroat thing that you fight for it in 4 years. After 4 years, you have to start looking around.
So you are rewarding consistent excellence.
Correct. He knows that. And proficiency will improve, discipline will improve, everything will improve. He'll understand teamwork. Maybe in the first 2 years, you don't even talk to him about going out. And 5 years is a good enough period. 5 years also gives you the leeway in the first exit to prepare him to go out. That's the next point. Let's say how get back to that. Okay. Then you have right. The next is merit-based exit of the bottom 25% at each stage. It could be, I said 25%, it could be 15% only. You soften the blow from 75% exit. If only 15% have to exit, there's a big difference in the way people will perceive it. You increase it later, right? And then you give him an improvement avenue. A chap, you give him a second chance in life. Someone who's not performed at 5 years can perform better in the next 2 years, can perform better in the next 2 years, and still come up. You give him a chance. Today he doesn't have a chance. If for some reason he's got an accident or something, he has to go out. He doesn't have a chance back. Then you give him relocation time. If you have 5 years, 1 year training, 4 years in the unit, you can afford to give him 2 to 3 months relocation time, where if he has to go out, he can get relocated and prepare for that relocation. I'll come to that relocation, what all. And then you have to give him some kind of assured relocation. Proper avenues. It is not that, no, you're a better man, so corporates will take you. Or you're a good guy, so you have confidence, and then anyone will absorb you. I've also been a good guy, no one absorbed
Ravi
me.
Shankar, I think I seem to have lost you. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Viewers, he'll be rejoining shortly. Just stay tuned. May I request all of you to like this video? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So there has to be assured relocation, right? Where he knows that even if he's out from here, he's got a clear path ahead. Okay, next, please. Okay. Now, there will be people who will become low medical categories in this 4 years. And there will be people who will become low medical categories who are senior. So this is where the peel factor comes in. As low medical categories happen in the army, give them assured sidestepping into CAPS or government jobs or alternate career at any stage. Any stage. So that he doesn't feel that, look, I have become a low medical category, I have no future. So give him an avenue. Then open up.
General Ravi Shankar, can you expand CAPF, please?
Yeah, it is Central Armed Police Forces.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Then you open voluntary exit at every stage. People still want to go home after this thing for many reasons. Just have an open voluntary exit. Right? Then you have, now here's the crux. You have a fixed pension system now, almost fixed. You have a graded pension system and you have a graded severance system. Here, today you said one single thing, cut off 4 years. So much is what you'll get and get out. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad at all. But that induces fear. What will happen if I don't get something else and this 20 lakhs which I've got also goes, or 11 lakhs I've got also goes? And I can give you enough stories where this he might lose. Right? So you need a graded system and a severance system which is graded. It's not fixed. Yeah.
General Ravi Shankar, do these last 2 points you mentioned go against the one grade, one pension system that was ushered in with much fanfare, sir?
No, that is not one grade. It is one rank, one pension.
Oh, one rank, sorry. One rank, one pension. You're right.
This is
That's what I meant. Yeah.
This is a graded severance system based.
Viewers, we seem to be. Yeah, go ahead, sir. You're back. You're back. Yeah.
So this is a graded severance system and a graded pension system. A combination of this will give a better thing rather than a fixed one. Okay, next. Okay. Now, where do you take them out? CAPFs, 30% sidestepping has to be done. This 10% which has been announced by the Home Ministry is far too less. If you're taking 75% out of the army at every year, and that strength is almost equivalent, just 10% intake will not meet the thing. So it has to be around 30%. That's the minimum. Then you need,
General Ravi Shankar, I think I get the gist of what you're going with, sir. What you're saying, if I understand you correctly, because I want to set the stage for the other boxes.
yeah,
5 years means the minimum time the person serves in the army,
army.
and he gets the peak conditioning there. He goes through the hardest tests, hardest maneuvers, hardest experience possible. So it is a waste to try and not use his skills in CAPF, where the pace is perhaps a little less, but
Less.
at the same time, this whole thing that he has learned can be put to full effect. Is that
Yeah,
correct, sir?
yeah, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
just get back to that slide. There's another variation in this. You don't recruit. Let the CAPF recruit and give you people. Let them serve for 2-3 years with you, 4 years, 5 years. That can be decided, and they go back. The same thing. The thing on the armed forces reduces. So this is one. Then we need to utilize the quota in central and state services. A lot of jobs on this goes unutilized, right? And for this, you need to empower these people and have a different approach. You have to have an organized method to say, look, if you want to go back to your state and serve, we'll train you somewhere. You need to have a structure for this. Then there are a whole lot of banks, PSUs, and insurance companies. Why can't we have a reserved quota there? Fixed. Let them look. That guy has to have a bouquet. I can go here, I can go here, and I can go here. Right now, all that is not in the clear. Look, mind you, all these are there. Huh? Banks have a quota for ex-servicemen. You increase it so that those people have choices and assured choices. Corporates have beyond a particular limit. Say if the corporate is about 100 people, beyond that, small businesses can't handle this. But big corporates, they should be mandatory, and they may be incentivized as whatever, something like a CSR. That's a different story. But they should be mandatory. It's not that I will take. No, you will take 3%, 4%, 5% as ex-servicemen, not as guards. That's the worst this thing. Yeah.
General Ravi Shankar, I have to say this at this point of time. I doubt the moral access of many people who are, serving at the state level police units, because the way these people were recruited was not based on their ability, but based on how much money they could come up with, who they could grease, what was the ruling power at that point of time, which was again, favoring a particular community or a caste. This is how the recruitment has been done. What is not to like for all the state governments to get somebody who knows that who has a very clear identity idea, who knows what his priorities are, nation first, then everything else comes after.
No.
And this itself, I have a problem right now. So go ahead, sir. I just wanted to make that point.
I agree with you to some extent, but the fact is there are already vacancies. There are already quotas, even in state police forces, for these people. See, it's not as if the vacancies are not there. Vacancies are there. You need to focus. That's the point I'm trying to make. You need this awareness across the board. That, okay, when you come out after 5 years or 7 years or 9 years, this is one vacancy you should try. Your choice is yours to try or not try. Okay. Yeah, next. Right. Then you also have to look at free education or skill development. You have a skill development system, huge skill development ministry. Skill them. Then you have to look at empowerment and business enablement, milk booths, vegetable booths, oil agencies, transport cooperatives. You give them loan assistance, but quantify it. It's not as if the government is not doing it. Government has said, we'll give you loans, we'll put you on business and all that. But if you say you take loan and choose your business, where will you go? But if you say, okay, here, you go back to your state, we'll give you a fertilizer agency or an oil agency, we'll give you a transport cooperative or something like that. The Army, Navy and the Air Force itself can say, okay, all CHTs which they are hiring will be of ex-servicemen, of Agniveers. We spend a lot on this. Develop it. Right. Now the defense civilian cadre to be ESM. Today the RM has said 10%. Why 10%? It could be much more. Right? Then, like I said, ESM transport, ex-serviceman transport. You could create a startup ecology. Have you thought of that? After 5, 7, 9 years of service, this fellow is full of ideas and beans. Give him a startup. Give him the problem. It might not be for everyone, but there will be people. So you have to develop a clear bouquet of alternatives for this chap to say, this is what you have, choose what you want. And we are giving you enough time to choose what you want. 4 years, he is worried. But when you say 5 years and plus 7 years and going to 9 years, he's got time to mentally switch to all, and he'll develop that maturity to switch to all. You might not agree with me at this point of time. I have no problem. You might have different views. I have no problem. But let's amend it. But you need to have something forward looking. Yeah.
General, quick question. You said ex-serviceman transport. I have a philosophical question, sir, and I just wanted to run it by you since you know the nuts and bolts of all the equipment and so on. So let us say there is an army truck that is being used to ferry troops back and forth to the border and so on. That is, let us say 5 years old. I don't know when you retire the truck itself as for the roadworthiness or whatever you want. But that same truck perhaps can be used in civilian by just reshaping the body. Those kind of incentives can be given to the ESM transport people, saying that you get this thing and then you repurpose the thing, change the body, and then use it for civilian transport.
That is an old way of looking at it. Let me be very this thing. Today, the amount of the civil height transport which the forces use, especially for mobilization, movement of goods and all, you can go in for bigger ones. And the scope is huge. The scope is huge. It's much beyond these discarded trucks and all that. Right? You give them, you can build a beautiful ex-serviceman network of vehicles, and they'll be useful for you during mobilization.
Yes, yes.
If you go to Ladakh, Leh Ladakh, all transports which the army uses there is from the local cooperatives. And if I say the local cooperatives will only be for ex-servicemen, have ex-servicemen cooperatives, you have that manpower readily available to you. You have to connect with the people during war. So there are a lot of things you can do. We're not thinking on those lines. I don't see it in the TVs. I don't see the government thinking on these lines. That's the point I'm trying to put across. Look, in a developing, we are the fastest developing economy in the world. You mean to say we can't handle 50,000 boys every year? That's all going to come out? We can. We just have to give that degree of assurance. Okay.
Can you go back to the previous slide, please? I think there's one box that is not covered.
Yeah. Startup ecology. We've covered all. We covered all in this. Okay, next one. Okay, what are the immediate steps you have to take? We need to enhance vacancies to peak training capacity. Whatever your training capacity is, enhance it. All those boys who are COVID affected during that break, they should be given a fair chance, finish tests and complete the process. The only caveat is that hereafter it will be this modified Agnipath, or you will be a modified Agniveer. That's the only caveat. And put it. Look, you might not agree with 5 years, 7 years, 9 years. It could be 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. That's a matter of detail. It could be 15%, 25% and 40% later on. That's a matter of detail. But if you do not ease the system out, I don't think you'll be able to implement it also. And when you ease the system, a lot of problems at the unit level and for the system get resolved. And you'll get the same benefits. You might not save so much money, but in the long run, the investment which you do in this will give you out of proportion benefits, and you retain everything what I've said. You go back to the tenets which I've said, you'll see that you'll be able to do it. Right. I think we finished with the last one. So, what is the path ahead? Generate acceptability. Restore law and order. That has to start immediately. Reach out to people and say, look, we are going to rework it. We're going to come out with a better thing very fast. Quickly promulgate a modified model. Accept some, don't accept it, no problem. But do something which is acceptable. And the principles also have to be accepted with a broad roadmap. You need to have an implementation commission or a board under the PMO above the thing, so that tomorrow we are looking at a 10-year perspective. This government will be there, might not be there. Some other government will come. It has to be through the parliament, maybe through an act of the parliament, so that it's not an executive order. Executive orders get changed. It can't be a judicial order, right? So you have to go through that. You have to work out your details in the next 6 months for the immediate implementation. But don't worry, you have another 3 years or 4 years before you really have to crystallize this cream. But you have to give assurance to people. You recommence all suspended recruitment tests immediately, because you've given them a assurance earlier. You can't go back on that. And this is something which a previous AG, General Rakesh Sharma, also was talking of yesterday. And this is probably what has started this apprehension amongst the youth. Okay. Like I said earlier, enrollment has to be based on Agnipath terms and conditions. And you publish a time-based implementation schedule, not open-ended. And this is the time. Maybe we are in a bit of a crisis, but every crisis is an opportunity. Let's use this to communicate what we can do as a government, as a nation for these chaps. Right? My last word before I'm open to questions. Whatever I've said is absolutely non-partisan. I have no interest. This is absolutely cold professional point of view, devoid of politics, devoid of any bias, irrespective of the fact on which platform I'm going to speak. Because whatever ideas I get from you people, the audience today, I'm going to take it. We already programmed a webinar on 28th, where two AOC&C and naval GOC&C are equivalent, right? And one of the MSS of the Indian Army are going to be in the panel, and I'm going to moderate the discussion. I'm going to take all these points, give them to you, give them to them, and say, come up with your path, so that we have a wider thing, and then we go ahead with a well-defined way, a more logical way to do things based on experience. And then we'll give it to the government, let the government take the call. But one thing I am clear, we can't roll back. Second thing I am clear, we have to go forward. And third thing, we have to take everyone along. We are a nation which is going to become a global power. We can't have entry into the military through broken trains or burning trains. That's all I have to say. Jai Hind, and I'm open to questions.
General Ravi Shankar, before we, there is
this is the one
webinar.
28th. We're going to have Air Marshal Anil Chopra, General Vinod Bhatia, and Admiral Anil Chopra. You've seen who they are, and I'll be moderating it. I would request all of you to register. I might not be able to give you all the answers, nor do I have all the answers, but I've just given you some thoughts. Maybe they'll come up with better thoughts. I honestly hope that we come up with better thoughts. I would like the best for my armed forces and my nation.
I have heard some of them in person, sir. A very, very impressive set of people that you have there. And General Ravi Shankar, before I throw open the floor for questions, I just want one question answered by you, sir. This is what I think the Prime Minister will ask as soon as something like this reaches his table. First, the question that he
I hope it reaches his table.
Well, we can always hope, sir. So this is your Agnipath expense cost, and this is modified Agnipath. Can you kind of give us a back of the envelope calculations as to how much you think it will increase the cost footprint in the modified Agnipath? Just, I'm not going to hold you to it. Just, mota. You have done a lot of estimations.
Look, initially you might feel that you're not saving much, but in the long run you'll save a hell of a lot. On the long run, you will save tremendously, because you need experience to handle difficult and complicated technology which is coming in, and that technology is going to be very costly. Inexperience burns more technology and puts weapons out more than so you have to look at it holistically. You have to have a 360-degree outlook. It cannot be an accountant's approach. And I'm afraid that a lot of this approach has been on an accountant's approach. There are hidden costs in this Agnipath model, which are very costly. Right? So you will save more in the long run if you ease the system out. Today, the system is too tight. I mean, when I say the system, the Agnipath system is too tight. Again, I'll reiterate. Do you need it? Yes. Do you need it in the current form? No. Do you need it in a modified form? Yes. Right? Is my model the best? No. I agree. But this is just the start.
All right, then let's take some questions now for the good general. Mr. Lee wants to know, many retired personnel are opposed to all India, all class recruitment in Agnipath. Isn't class regimentation at PBOR level a colonial era practice following discredited martial race theory?
Look, we are already in all India, all class recruitment. There's no recruitment is all India, all class. How you organize yourself to fight is different. Right? And it is not on a martial race theory. There are no martial races left in anywhere in the world. It is just that you are using a tradition and reinforcing it. That's all. Okay. So that I'm from artillery. 75% of artillery is mixed. All India, all class units. 25% of artillery is going on single class units. I am from a single class unit. But is it the best system? No. Is it the worst system? No. It's a balanced system. There are tremendous advantages of that. There are tremendous advantages of both. Have the best of both. What's wrong with it? Why are you getting into mental blocks that you should have it's an imperial system or not? Whether it's an imperial system or not, it works.
General Ravi Shankar, from my curiosity, what does PBOR stand for, sir?
Yeah, personal below officer rank. They are the JCOs and NCOs. Yeah, JCOs, NCOs, and other ranks. Right.
Next question, please.
Yeah.
Girinath Paranjothi wants to know, sir, we have seen cases where individuals who are mentally disturbed shooting other in the army. It is feared with Agnipath such individuals might harm public once out of service. Is this concern valid?
I don't think I am too bothered about it at this point of time, because our society lives by different norms, right? And our society is not an armed society or where arms are easily available like in Western societies, especially USA. I can see where this question is coming from. If we handle this whole situation right and we condition this chap, the national objectives will be achieved. He'll go a better man, a better qualified guy, a more confident chap to contribute to the society. Why should we think negatively? We should think positively that when I send a man out from the armed forces, he is my ambassador. He is the nation's ambassador. He is going to uplift the values of the system and our nation. Let's look at it positively. This is not something which has even remotely come to my mind. I have confidence in our men. I have tremendous confidence in our society. They have not let me down, ever.
General Ravi Shankar, Mandar Karnik wants to know, what is better for infantry, all India service or class-based recruitment?
Look, again, there is no class-based recruitment. Let me put it this thing. It is an all India, all class recruitment. Your recruitment, you recruit. It is only that you send these people to different regiments in one class so that there's a bonding. Okay, let me give you a personal example which I've quoted. In my unit, it was a pure Rajput unit. lineage from the state forces of Bikaner going 400 years. I've had people say, look, my grandfather was in this regiment. I want to join this regiment. People have come to me and said, when I was a commanding officer, in fact, when I was a Director General of Artillery, my own JCOs and NCOs used to come to me, sir, my son has got into the army. Please send him to our regiment. There's an affinity. There's a strength. It is not on some, vague class theory or a mental construct. Okay, your recruitment is all India, all class. You are only organized in, a particular class. It's good to have 𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤. What's wrong with it? They are from the same area. The background is the same. They gel better. They fight better. Right? This is just a mental block which most of us have. At the same time, All India All Classes will deliver. Some of my best artillery units were All India All Class mixed. So let's not have fixed ideas. Okay, we should do what is best for ourselves. Yeah.
Next question from Mr. Lee. Is there any truth in the allegations that training has been halved? How much training did Indian Army give Jawans in emergency recruitment during previous wars? 62, 65, 71, Kargil.
Look, let's be very clear. There's no allegation. There's no question of training being halved. The only time training is now being proposed to be changed is in this recruitment process. Otherwise, when faced with the emergency situation, right? When faced with an emergency situation and you need more manpower, you need some reserve manpower up front, what happens is you take stock of your people, those who you feel are at a stage of training where they can cope with the outside world, you send them. You fast forward the training or terminate the training, you say, okay, he's good enough. He's 90% fit. The balance 10% I'll take a risk. But if he's not 50% risk, he's not sent. So there's no, that's the way it is done. And I can tell you with some degree of confidence, because I've gone through all these operations, some of these operations, at least of which I was a commanding officer. So I know what happens. So that, there's nothing to worry about it. The Indian Army is too strong. The Army, Navy, and the Air Force, that's why I said our traditions are fantastic and strong. If you see in the last article, you see what an ex-Marine had said about the armed forces. Don't lose that. We can't afford to lose that. That's our biggest strength.
Arjun wants to know, AV intake will be 1.6 lakh by 2030 per year, 40,000 absorbed under ops 4 years later. Old recruitment was 60,000. Training staff will be tripled. So one question at a time, sir. This is very complicated.
Yeah. I'll explain what he said. I've understood. See, currently you're taking in about 50 to 60,000 people into the system. When you have 4 years, and that guy whom you train, he is there in the system for 15 years. You don't have to retrain him. But when you put him out after 4 years and you start another cycle, after another cycle has to start, he has to be replaced. So over a 15-year period, there are 3.5 cycles or 3.75 cycles. That means you have to train nearly 4 times the people. Even if you have the training, you end up with training 2 times the people. When you train 2 times the people, your training capacities have to increase and your staff has to increase. It's not tripled, but it will increase. To that extent, where will that staff come from? They have to come from units, experienced people. Right? It's like a snake which is going to eat its own tail. Where do you get the experienced people? If you are getting that experienced people, you are eating into the 25% of experience who are going to be there. That's the diciness of the system, which is why I am saying is 5, 7, 9 years. You will get a better exit rate, you'll experience everything, and you'll be able to sort all these issues out. Right? So that's the point. So the current system has a problem. Let's accept it. If you don't accept it, then it's a different story. The current method will create problems even in the experienced people available in the unit, even in the inexperienced people available in the unit. That balance which I spoke of is lost. Yeah.
Just curious, 40 wants to know, if you make it so complicated, will it serve the purpose? It's not
Look, I'm
complicated.
trying to simplify it. I am trying to simplify it. Right? Unless you simple, the present system gives more complications than what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is this simple. You just continue with the current system. It's only that you have a graded exit system. You don't change the recruitment pattern. You don't change the training pattern. You don't change the training capacities. You don't change anything. You just change the exit system. You then tweak this, and you give yourself time to relocate these chaps. You don't have to deal with 75% boys, or rather, see, look, in a year, 75,000 will be the average intake after some time once you reach stability. Okay. Army, Navy, Air Force. Out of 75,000, 70% go out. That means what? 50,000 people go out. 55,000. At 4 years, why are you trying to grapple with 50,000? Spread this 50,000 over another 5 years. Isn't it an easier problem? And why do you want to grapple with them every 6 months? Do it every 1 year, once in a year. Ease your own problems out. Yes, I'm trying to simplify the system. Okay.
Next
The more question
please.
is, yeah, I think everyone will have his suggestions. I agree with you. This is one model. If it's acceptable, fine. If it's not acceptable, so be it. But at least it'll give some input for someone. You say, shoot down the system, but what's your alternate model?
Right.
The current model is not sustainable. I mean, that I'm very clear about. It can't be sustained. It can't be sustained in any case. Before that, people on the streets are speaking more than I am speaking. So that's a different story.
Here is the question from Debasis Pattanayak. If this is the case, why nobody gave a thought over it? We were made to believe that this scheme is seeing the light of day only after 2 years of brainstorming sessions in the army or elsewhere. We're getting confused with so much contradictory views on this scheme.
I agree with this lady completely. Or I don't know whether, he supports Nupur Sharma. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with Debasis Pattanayak's view. What happens is, people who have been working on this scheme have got caught in a box. Right? And they've done this entire thinking in a box. This out of the box thinking has been lacking. They have not had someone say, play the devil's advocate. They have not had someone to give a think tank or a commission to say, okay, this is what it is. Give us a solution, then we'll see what to do. It's all in-house thinking, driven more by economics. Like I said, more by accounts, more by trying to reduce the pension bill and some cut and paste solutions and all that. And as a result, I think things have gone a little. They've not met the aspirations of the people.
Before we go to the next question, my expectation of this program's viewership was more than what it is that I'm seeing. I'm happy that so many of you are watching, but we could do a much better job because General Ravi Shankar has stated the problem and he's also stating the solution. You often don't come across both sides. Usually somebody will poke holes and then leave it at that. At least General Ravi Shankar is trying to give you a way out, and I expect that most people who watch this thing, even after it airs, will understand a lot of the questions, their apprehensions answered. So please, viewers, all you need to do is just like this video and let's see how it does after this airs. Thank you very much. Next question, please. Kala Das wants to know, or Kala Das wants to know, why is PM Modi not taking a tough stand with the rioters? People cannot indulge in stone pelting and arson.
Well, I agree with what Kala Das says, but that's a question which has to be given to the PM. I don't want to talk about it. You have to And I'm sure the chief ministers, the prime minister, the state authorities, the police people, they're doing what they have to do, right? So I wouldn't like to second guess what they're supposed to do.
Santosh Bannur wants to know, as this recruitment is voluntary, why again would the individuals require a reservation to be placed in companies or corporates at 22 years? They have a long life ahead of them to think.
Yeah, that's a very altruistic way of looking at it. You're looking at a boy, a village boy who wants a career in the armed forces. It's also his livelihood. If after 4 years putting his life on the line, he has to start searching again for his livelihood, uh, well, he will have problems. And for something which has been prepared for 4 years, if you see on the TV, some people have said, I'm preparing for 2 to 3 years for getting into the army. Does he have to prepare for 2 to 3 years to get into the army only to serve in it for 4 years? That's the question he's asking, right? So I think there's the aspiration of the youth is something which we have to understand. Okay, let me flip it somewhere else. I'm of the era where when we were young majors, I was doing staff college in Wellington in 1991, when the Mandal Commission happened. And the government of the day fell because of that. And there were a lot of problems. Why? The youth didn't accept it. Was Mandal Commission bad? No. Even at that time, in a state like Tamil Nadu had more reservations than what the Mandal Commission recommended. Tamil Nadu has progressed. It's not a bad, the reservation policy which was recommended by that commission. Yet people emulated themselves. There were riots, there were everything, and the government fell. Right? So we are looking at a class of people who need to be reached out to. They have to understand this. Obviously, they have not understood the intent of the government. That's not gone through, and that lack of communication is something which many people are accepting. Right? So I think we need to think this a little differently.
Kedar Bhide wants to know, how are government agencies made responsible for employment of Agniveer?
Yeah, how are government agencies made responsible? That's why I said have a commission or a board, implementation board, then they'll be made responsible. You fix quotas, ensure that those quotas are filled. They are available. Most of the time, the quotas are available and no one knows about it. How to approach that, how to get hold of that quota, no one knows. That empowerment and that enablement has to be there. For example, I came to know this after I retired. Let me be very honest. When one artillery boy came to me and he met me in IIT and he said, "Sir, I'm appearing for the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission. Through the Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, I'm applying for a job." So I said, "How do you do it?" He said, "Sir, I go to the website. I've searched out. I've gone to the ex-servicemen's association. They said all this. Then I was told, look, you have to apply. You have to appear for only these subjects. Basically Tamil. He had to clear that. So I had to go through the Tamil course and then apply. And I'm reasonably sure I'll get my vacancy because I'm on a quota." I said, "Why?" "Because no one applies for it." That's the problem. So you need to empower him and you need to enable him. Empowerment is getting that vacancy to him. Enabling him is preparing him for that vacancy. If we do that, you will see a tremendous outflow. Plus, all those things. Sky is the limit. After all, these are our boys who are going to serve for us. When we are sitting here doing this webinars, some chap tomorrow, some Agniveer, will be in Siachen Glacier at minus 40 degrees, losing his fingers due to frostbite. We are responsible for them.
Before we take the next question, one unasked for piece of advice. Viewers, those of you who are watching who are young, read. I'll give you a simple example. I put out 5-minute video hangout monologues. I have to spend 10 times the time, 50 minutes, 50 minutes to give a 5-minute video, because that is the amount of preparation it takes. You want to say something well, you need to do that. So what General is also hinting at is, if you need to read, you need to go out and read all the stuff up there. There are lots of opportunities that are going a begging. Next question, please. I don't know what the language is, so I can't tell the name. I can't read the name. Namaskaram,
That's
General
okay.
Ravi Shankar. Konkani.
Yeah, Agnipath like the PLA conscript? No, it's not. There is no equivalent between the PLA conscript system and us. Conscript is you go tell a chap you're drafted, you get into the army, serve your 2-3 years and get out. Okay. It's not like that in this thing. We are only saying that your terms and conditions are not going to be as before. It's a change in terms of conditions. Right?
And it's voluntary, not conscription.
Yeah, it's voluntary. You want to come, come. If you don't want to come, don't come. It's a different thing. The number of people who want to come are more. Who want to make army a profession are quite a bit. Right? Look, even now, people come to me and say, sir, please put my son in the army. Everyone. Okay. So, people want to join the army. Okay. Army, Navy, Air Force, all three.
Ashutosh Kumar, tell me, why would a Jawan sacrifice his life where the country is not even able to fulfill his basic necessities? A simple minimum pay. A Jawan is literally putting his life on line on the border.
Well, when you look at this question at face value, I agree. But let me also put the other way around. For 40 years, I was in the army. I have always put my life on the line. I was very confident that my country will stand by me. You got a scheme which has some issues. It is not as if the country is not with them. Okay? And I'm very confident that this situation will never come when a man puts his life on the line and India doesn't look after him. That will not happen. This is a temporary blip. I have the confidence that we'll get over it.
And Girinath Paranjothi again. Sir, what kind of job will Agniveer be given? Since jobs like radar operators, tank operators, etc. requires a lot of training and experience, perhaps only basic infantry jobs. He's just guessing that.
No, I don't. I don't agree with you this question at all. If he's Agniveer, say if he has to get into a missile unit, his training will be different. Like I said, 6 months is too short. I agree. 6 months will not produce someone who can go and touch a missile also. There's no doubt about it. But 1 year training, we do it. After all, currently, okay, you can't have 1 year, you won't have 9 months, no problems. You can compress certain things, all that. 6 months is too short. 11 months is what it is today. You can have something in between, that's okay. But our system in the army is so good, army, navy, and the air force is so good that we'll make him do what we want him to do. The new system will take time to adjust. We will do that. But this proposal of the Agnipath as it stands, it's going to be very difficult. Right? So that needs a change. On that, I have no doubt. And I'm sure concerned people are taking note of it.
Ameya wants to know, what would be the cost of lumpen elements taking the training and being used after Friday prayers like direct action day against nationalists?
This is a subject which everyone is speculating. But has it happened? So many people exit the army, navy, and the air force on a daily basis. 60,000 people enter this thing. Has it happened? Barring 1 or 2, it is not this thing. So I don't think, and I'm very clear. Whether it's a Friday prayer or a Tuesday prayer, it doesn't matter me a sausage. Or a Sunday morning prayer, it doesn't matter me a sausage. In the army, I've learned all religions are the same. We believe in them. Let me give you my own example. When I was the Director General of Artillery, we had a very major reunion in the artillery center, where old men, officers, everyone came. It lasted for 3 days. This was in 2015. The first start point of that reunion was a function in the mandir, in the masjid, in the gurdwara, and the church. I still have photographs of them. And only after we did this, as a Sarv Dharm approach, did we go into the others. So we have to have that faith.
Pradeep Tumati wants to know, I see a proposal for 10% reservation in the Agnipath scheme. Is this true?
10% for whom?
General Ravi Shankar, I think what happens is the questions come even as we are talking about various things, and therefore there's an out of sequence thing. Pradeep,
No.
your question has been answered by General Ravi Shankar. You just have to go back and watch the video.
Yeah.
Mr. Lee, how did the Azad Hind Fauj organize themselves? Did they follow regimentation similar to British Indian Army? Did Indian Army after 47 reuse any of the INA's best practices?
Look, that is not relevant to the Agniveer system. So I don't think
let's let it go. Yeah.
Let it go. Yeah.
Comment please. Army needs continuous flesh blood. What would be the impact of 2 years gap in recruitment on average? Average of combat ready young personnel.
See, we had this gap in recruitment due to COVID. And this is not for us only, even PLA has had it. Everyone has gone through this. It is a universal phenomenon. The 2 years of this lost life for the whole world is not something unique to India or the Indian Army. Okay. So, there is no doubt that we have not had this recruitment, and there's a vacancies across the board. But look, this is an opportunity. This is a time when you can try this Agniveer proposal out. If it doesn't work, you can revert back. But look at it other way. If you make good all these people in one go, it is like overstuffing a pipe. It will burst. You have to peel off. So the best time to go through with this Agniveer proposal is now, when you have the capacity to do it. How you do it is a different story. Look, I might not agree with the proposal at this point of time, but the fact that you have to go through the proposal is indisputable. And this is the best opportune time is also indisputable. Do you need to improve this proposal? Yes. Yeah.
Viewers, we have about 4 or 5 more questions pending, but we request that at this point of time, we will not be able to take any new questions. And because those 4 or 5 questions will take about 5 to 10 minutes, and I just want to make sure that we have a balance here. When people look at the recorded video and they look at the time, sometimes there's a hesitation. Oh my God, I have to invest 1 hour and 20 minutes on this. But we want everybody to watch this one, because here is a real solution and a real problem description, examination of the problem in detail. So everything is important because it's a self-contained video, in my opinion. Let's go to the next question. Jairam Moore Kanikara. I hope I got it right. What is the best place to read about this scheme? Also, can we have a YouTube-like forum for these schemes where people can give feedback and opinions? You can give opinions here. A lot of people read.
There's also a YouTube forum. You can give an opinion here. But what is the best place to read about the scheme? I think MOD would have it on its site. MOD, Army, Navy, and the Air Force would have it on their sites. Right? If you go through their websites, and there, the Agnipath scheme, they come out with brochures, they come out with FAQs, everything is on social media. In fact, I've read about it more in the social media than anywhere else.
Dharmam Talekakkum, it's a pseudonym, I guess. How come Haryana and Bihar are protesting, but Rajasthan is not? Jat and Bihar regiments are on a spree, but Rajput and Punjab, Gurkha, Assam regiments are not. What are we missing here?
No, they are missing nothing. Don't read into it. There's no regiments which are not this thing. I think this is not a fair question also. Okay. You have to understand, people in Bihar prepare for entrance exams very intensely. Bihar prepares very intensely for IAS exams. Bihar prepares very intensely for every kind of an entrance exam. That's their culture. So they're feeling that's how it is. So is it for the Haryanvis. It is, they want to get into the army. They'll do anything for that. So I don't think we should talk like this. Yeah.
Next question, please. Krishna Bhaskar Turga. The Agnipath program has received many discussions, analysis, and feedback from the army. Why are political parties politicizing it? What does the army not give
Why
warning
does
to
the army
political
not get? Look, political parties will politicize everything. That's their job. So, I mean, you tell me one political party anywhere in the world who will not politicize it. That's politics, no? So let's not get into that. But why should the army get? Army is not the instrument of the state to give a warning to political parties. No, army is apolitical. It is not. Again, let me be very clear. The armed forces are not of the army, navy, and the air force. They are of the nation. They function under the government. They are under civilian control. The president of India is their CNC. They can't take independent decisions. It is for the nation to have the army it wants. It is not for the army to have the army it needs to be. If we as a people want an army of a particular kind, we should have that. The army can't take a decision. The army can give us advice. Right? So army can't give warning to political parties. Army can do what it is mandated to do. And disciplined armies, when I say army, navy, and air force, I keep qualifying. I just say army because it comes naturally to me. Disciplined and apolitical armies and professional armies, know where to draw the line. And I'm very proud that I'm of a system where I know where to draw the line.
Arjun wants to know, sir, those comparing with the West are not realizing that human capital at PBOR level is not comparable, takes more time to train, also expecting them to get corporate jobs or business like city youth. Is this wrong? My God, I don't know. That's what I think he's asking. Go ahead, sir.
Look, the Western society and their men are far different from ours. There's no comparison. And I'm proud of our men. And I'm proud of our Indians, our youth. I've seen the Western armies. I've seen their soldiers. Let me assure you, you might think that, our people are, both have two left feet. They're not tech savvy, this savvy, that savvy, but their absorption and their ability to fight is huge. I'll give you an example. And this is something which I learned in 1984. In 1984, when the Bofors gun came to India, it was probably the most advanced guns of the world. And we used to hesitate to handle it. As officers, I used to hesitate to handle it. But our men picked it up like, a duck to water. A chap wouldn't know anything about computers. He wouldn't know anything about many modern systems which are on that gun. But within a matter of no time, he knew how to fire that gun better than I could. I took time to learn more about to get to his level of competency. Our men have their, what shall I say, heart to the ground. They get to the situation fast. I have immense faith in our men. I'll leave it at that. And if they go to the corporate, they'll do fantastic. They'll outshine people. Every Fauji is a leader. He's trained to be a leader. It's a stupid corporate which doesn't take this leader into his fold.
Thank you very much, General Ravi Shankar. That was a wonderful session, sir. And I think we have laid it out with a complete 360-degree perspective, the pros and what can be done to tweak the system. Certainly, Agnipath is here to stay. And viewers, we have done a few programs before also, and we may have a few more continuing programs, because I think this is just the beginning of a discussion that perhaps we have had before made the announcement. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't harm. It doesn't hurt anything. You can always tweak something. And I'm hoping that with the people having shown their reaction to this, the government is going to try and make a more equitable system, and I'm hoping that this is our little contribution towards that. And we are always welcome. You are welcome to put in your comments. Do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and give a big thumbs up to General Ravi Shankar. He spent a lot of time preparing for this, I can tell you, because we've been talking about this for many days. He's been traveling. He found time to do this thing, and thank you very much, sir. I tip my hat to you, and thank you once again, viewers. And please for like this video, and let this thing spread far and wide. Namaskar.
Thank you.